You're listening to Be the Exception Podcast, episode 186. Welcome to another episode of Be the Exception Podcast. My name is Dawn Ellis, and we have a truly exceptional guest joining us today. In episode 186, we're privileged to have the brilliant AJ Howard as our guest. AJ is a mastermind behind Tracked Learning, an innovative tool revolutionizing the way special educators approach data collection. Special educators, you're in for a real gem of an episode today. We'll be unpacking the significance of data collection in your world and uncovering simple yet highly effective ways to make it seamless and a great part of your day. So whether you're a seasoned educator or just starting out your journey in special education, this episode is tailored for you. Get ready to enhance your teaching toolkit and become the exceptional educator you aspire to be. So grab your favorite notepad, make yourself comfortable, and let's get into this enlightening conversation with AJ Howard. Special ed teachers, this one is for you.
Welcome to Be the Exception Podcast. As teachers, each one of us has something that comes naturally to us that others would love to know more about. Throughout this podcast, we'll chat with amazing professionals and offer easily digestible tips that you can quickly implement in your classroom or business, helping you stand out with things you do really well. Your host, Dawn Ellis, is a qualified educational specialist with 10 years of special education experience, published journal articles, and was a state finalist for Elementary Teacher of the Year. Dawn provides tools for special education teachers to perform at their very best, helping deal with the frustrating daily obstacles of being an educator. She offers a roadmap of resources and strategies to make you a confident leader in your school and community. So if you're ready to start the conversation, learn from others, and grow together, you're in the right place. Now here's your host, Dawn Ellis.
Hey everyone, today we have AJ Howard here to chat with us. He is from trackedlearning.com, and he is not only an innovator of helping with data collection and creating a system to help with this, he also is a special educator as well. And so he's taken the two things and put them together and really tried to find a system that works both effectively and efficiently. So help me welcome AJ to the show. Hey there, how are you?
Good. Thank you for having me and for the wonderful introduction.
You are so welcome. For any of our listeners who may not know of you yet, can you give us a little bit of your background, of your story in education, and how you developed Tracked Learning?
Yeah. So I have been in education for about 11 years. I started out as a para in a self-contained behavior program. Once I finished my schooling, got emergency certified, then started going to school for special ed and got my master's. Then I became the self-contained teacher, and now I moved across the state and I do K through fourth grade. I'm the only one for those grade levels, so I kind of look at and work with all those kids with all their different needs. So
more of an inclusion setting, or?
So we right now are, because of spacing and the rapid growth of just like our school and kids on IEPs. So we do have one person that's kind of like our autism specialist for the district.
Okay.
And she's now in there. So we kind of have like 1.5 at the elementary school.
Wow.
But I mainly do like pull out groups. And then I have a para that's going around and doing individual skills. But
so you're busy.
Yeah, what we're working towards is building a like resource room and pull out group and in slightly inclusions. So we have kids bouncing all over the place and trying to do the best we can for all the kids.
Absolutely. I know. I saw a TikTok today and it was just like, so you're a special ed teacher, what do you do? And the response was like, I do my best. That's what I do, my best. And I feel like the caseloads are really high this year all across the country. Yep. And so we're just trying to do the best we can with what we got, right?
Yeah. Last year I was just hitting about 40 kids on my caseload.
So many.
Yeah.
Man.
So it's quite a party. But the how kind of tracked learning came along was through the craziness of so many kids, so many different goals, assessments, grading, and so much paperwork aspect of things.
Right.
And I am one who likes to be very intentional with my kids, like my students, my family, just anything I do. And I don't like to recreate the wheel. I just like to be efficient. And it was driving me crazy that every couple months when it was progress report time, when you have almost 40 kids who average 5 goals or so, that's 200 goals that you have to assess, have data on. And so, you might have 10 kids that have a uppercase letter goal identification. So you can okay, get 10 copies of that or however you want to assess it. And then you get 5 copies of single digit addition, and you have all these different assessments that you're trying to get. And then you're, making copies of these and writing their names and remembering who, then you give them all. You can't help them. So you're wasting all this time assessing, and then you have to grade it. And then you got to organize it. And you know how many people actually are putting it in the binder, or you're going to be like me and you're just going to chuck it on the shelf behind you. And you're like, when conferences come, I'll have time to do this. And you never do. So I was like, there's got to be a better way. I am going berserk with this. So started creating resources and IEP goal banks. And I talked with my cousin, who's now my partner, and he's our programmer and coder.
Yeah.
And so we have built a website, trackedlearning.com. And in that, we have over 500 customizable goals. So we have a framework already in place so that you don't have to retype out and make sure your goal hits all of the, compliance requirements. You just have to put in the date, the baseline, the end goal, and how you're going to track it. Everything else, student names are auto-filled for you. You can take words away, you can add words, so you can make it very specific for each kid. But if you choose one of our goals, 90+% of them, we will also create the assessment and grade it for you. So it's just streamlining that process of finding the assessments. It's already all created. You just enter the kids, you put in the goals, and then when you want to create an assessment, you just hit open assessment. All of your kids pop up. You take 2 minutes to select all the goals you want assessed. And when you hit create or generate, it's going to create a specific assessment for every kid in each one of their goals. And you could even choose how many questions per goal. So every kid's going to have their own specially designed assessment that they can take electronically. So instead of you running around trying to find time, you can assess all of your kids at once, essentially. And as you're sitting there not being able to help them, data's coming to your interface, and now you're starting your progress report writing. So you're not wasting any time. And it's given me the ability to come to work when I have to and leave when I want to. And my planning time is now freed up to actually spend it thinking about my students rather than paperwork. So that's kind of what Tracked Learning is. It's a program that helps teachers streamline the process so they can focus on what matters and give their students, which is their students, and give their students what they deserve. And that's more time with them.
Awesome. And I think that always is the goal for special ed teachers, because while it is such a big component of our job, it's also a time consuming and kind of overwhelming part as well. And so let's dive in a little deeper into the ins and outs of tracked learning. And I have some more questions. Just hearing you talk about it, it just kind of has sparked some other questions. But first off, how does tracked learning simplify the process of tracking that data? And you kind of hit on it a little bit, but can you tell us some of the key features of what makes it so efficient and effective?
Yeah, so there's a few main things. So we have a diagnostic tool, which K-8, you can do math or ELA, and they are also tied to Common Core state standards if your district is one that pushes that. And when that student is done with that assessment, we will put them at a grade level equivalency. So 3.8, grade 3, month 8. And we'll show the skills that they passed and skills that they struggled on. And you can directly add all of the goals they struggled on and make them their IEP goals. Or because it's so efficient to track data, you can just add it to their account so that you're able to track even more information all at one time. And one thing that's really great is the scheduling page. So you can put, say you have groups, you can put them on the scheduling page, and it's going to pull up the target skill. So instead of by October 4th, blah, blah is going to go from 50% to 90% in this goal area, it just has all of the student target skills. So single digit addition, or identifying numbers, or identifying letters. And it's going to have arrows to click up or down, so correct or incorrect. And then it generates a percentage and makes a bar graph on that individual student's profile. So you can do real-time data collection. And I've done it where I've left open my phone or computer, and while I'm teaching, and I don't try to do it constantly because I'm also focusing on the kids, but I'm just clicking arrows on their goals as I'm talking to them or teaching or working one-on-one, and I'm collecting data. Or I can open an assessment and assess any of my students on all of their goals. We can also make a quick assessment. So say you have a reevaluation or a kid being referred to SPED, you can shoot out a couple random skills or things that you want to get further information that might not be an IEP goal, and it can be assessed for them. So we have a bunch of different little things to really hone in on what that student needs and how to best serve them.
Very cool. So does the platform have a way to help with progress, like progress report writing? Like, does it help generate the data that has been collected up to that point?
Yeah, thanks. So that is also one of our newer features, is the generate a progress report. And so each student is housed with their own individual learning profile. And the reason we did that is you have your caseload page, which is also customizable for the teacher. We wanted this program because special ed teachers, like you mentioned about that TikTok, just trying our best. We have so many things going on at so many different times. And so part of our interface is also to be as user-friendly as possible. So you can cut or add as much information as you want whenever you want to. So if you don't want to see what day their IEPs are due, take that off your caseload page. If you don't want to see when their reevaluation is due, take it off, or you can add it on. So you can build how much bandwidth or how much input you're going to be, that you have space for to handle. So having the student profile, instead of seeing every kid's information at once, you can go to just Dawn's profile and see just her goals, or just her assessments, or just her progress. And within there, you can hit generate report, and anything, any note you've written about that student, any assessment they've taken, every goal they have, all the progress in the real-time teaching data collection that you've taken, you can choose what and what you don't want added in that report. And once you hit generate, it'll pull up everything. And then you can directly email it to a teacher. You can directly email it to a parent, which also there's a parent component to this, where if a teacher gives access, a parent can make their own tracked account for free, and they can see just their students' goals and just their students' progress.
Okay.
That the teacher's collecting.
Interesting. So do you have to be super tech savvy to set all of this up, or have you set it up in such a way that it's pretty user friendly?
Our main goal is user friendly. I mean, everyone's got a different technology skill base, and we've learned that, and we've tried to make it as easy as possible. We have a walkthrough tutorial. We have almost 20 how-to videos, all housed once you log in, and you can redo the tutorial over and over again. You can watch the videos. We even have written descriptions on each page and how to do each thing. But there's still times people need help. And
sure.
We've just encouraged, we have a info@tracklearning.com. Just email us and you can set up a time to Zoom, and we will walk you through, with you logged in and you screen share, we'll walk you through, because we can tell someone how to do something, But when they're on their own profile, we're like, oh, go click on the top right or go click there, then they metabolize it and it makes more sense. So
Clicks, yeah.
happy to
So
do that.
with Tract, is the interface allow a variety of different goals to be tracked? So not just academics, maybe social or behavior or motor or functional. Are those things considered inside the program?
Yep, all of those are in there. And not only do we have just our goals, but a user, if you're say you have a special goal, jumping off a ladder, that's not going to be one, obviously, but just trying to think of an example. You can add your own goals. So not only can you customize the goals we have, you can add your own goals and save them. So if you use that through multiple different students, it's easy to find. You don't have to rewrite it each time. And not all of our goals have an assessment created by us, because some of them is like raising their hand appropriately in the classroom, let's say.
Right.
Well, you can't really assess that through a digital assessment. That's more observational. So what we do for that is we create a space that the teacher can then enter that information. So it's like box out of box, raising their hand. So he did it 8 out of 12 times, and then it's going to shoot out that 75% and graph it for you. So at least it houses the information. You don't have to track down sticky notes or binders. It's all within your laptop or iPad.
Gotcha.
So it's really clean. It's cleaning off your desk. It's cleaning your shelves. It's cleaning your headspace.
Gotcha. So does it allow you to put in like either pluses or minuses when that behavior is occurring, or is it just like you would put in a tally or just a percentage of what was seen?
It's just 2 boxes and you input the 2 numbers. So like you could tally yourself on a sticky note and you got 8 out of 12. You would actually type 8 and 12.
Okay.
But there is a anecdotal note section for that student, and you could set up like more of a table sort of setting, but that it wouldn't be like graded by us. That would be just more for when you look back at your notes for that student, you would be able to see that.
Very cool. Awesome. So with Tract Learning, can you offer any kind of like computer-based like diagnostic assessment, especially for the beginning of the year or mid-year, so where you can track all year long to see any progress that is being made?
Yeah, so we have the math and ELA diagnostic, and that is computer adaptive. So if they keep doing well, and we even have 3 versions of it. You can do a short, a medium, or a long version. And of course, longer version is going to be more questions and more accurate compared to a long version of the assessment. And you can give that diagnostic as many times as you want. And you can then see under that student's profile the changes in their grade level equivalency at the end of each one.
Interesting. How low does the software or the assessments go?
At pre-K.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Is it symbol supported at all, any of the assessments, or is it mainly just like words and pictures or numbers?
So most like math and things like that, there is audio clips, even some of the reading where it might read the directions, because part of making this user friendly is we wanted to free up the teacher to be able to, while a kid is taking an assessment, that kid should be able to do it independently or fairly independently, so that the teacher can focus on progress report writing or prepping stuff for the next group or the next student. So they can focus more on students rather than, just sitting there not being able to do anything.
Yeah. So are there any other benefits or features for both the educators and the students in using Tract Learning?
Yeah, it's cutting hours a week for each educator, whether that's coming in early or staying late, beyond our paid contract hours. And it's in a version, it's like self-care for the teacher, because now that they get to come when school starts and leave when school ends. That gives them more time with their families or more time doing the things they love outside of school, which we know then is going to, whether that's exercise or being outdoors or reading a book, that's going to make them happier. So they're going to be coming to work in a much better mood and not feeling like they're drowning, because the amount of special ed teachers being burned out is scary. It like 50%, I saw a study of special ed teachers change jobs within like their schools or districts within 2 years, and 25% leave teaching within the first 5 years of teaching. So they leave teaching altogether because they're so burned out. And special ed teachers, I think, are kind of a special breed because you deal with a variety of students and needs. And if you're being burnt out because of paperwork or lack of time with students or just the overload of, just like you said, that TikTok, I'm just trying to do my best. How many people do you really want to just like, and that's not even like I'm doing my best in a positive way. That's like I'm doing my best and that's all you get. It's almost like a negative way of saying I'm doing my best. And we want, we went in there to make a difference with students, and we're working with some of the most challenging. We want those people to stay in special ed. We don't want them leaving, because then that's bringing not, there's plenty of great first year teachers or para eds that I think have been better than some teachers, but you know what I mean? Like those people are trained and they're leaving and they want to be with those students, but they just, for a variety of reasons, are getting burnt out. So to save that time and that headspace is directly benefiting the students, because now they're getting more intentional teachers. They're getting hopefully higher quality teachers. They're getting, veteran teachers that know and don't have to recreate the wheel every time, because they get to focus on them and new strategies that work. So whether you use our program for the basic level and save an hour a week, or you dig in and really utilize every feature, you can save 3-4 hours a week. And I mean, think about what you can do with 3 or 4 hours.
For sure. There's a few things.
Yeah.
So will you explain to us how tracked learning allows educators to set like customizable learning goals, and then how they tailor assessments to align to our certain objectives or standards based on any state and what we're using there?
So we have the bank of goals, and within that you have the framework, which then you can change the wording, eliminate, or add to meet that student's specific needs. Then the tracked learning will create the assessment when you want it created, and you can choose even how many questions for that specific question or target skill. And then the student will log in, take it, and you'll get the percentage on how they did overall towards that skill. Did that answer your question?
Yeah. So I just think that so many times, like trying to look at all these goals, measure them all, and make sure they all align, and have baseline data and mid-year data. Like there's just so many components. And so just trying to understand and see how it can all be maybe streamlined. I think that's the ultimate like dream of a special educator, is to have it all kind of in one place where it's kind of helping and generating and working smarter, not harder. Yeah. We can work smarter, not harder, but the back end of it. And so just trying to understand that. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, we just wanted to save those because we feel like time is so precious and valuable. And think about all the decisions you make as a special ed teacher. Like even just finding an assessment for every student you have, say come progress report time, for every goal. Like not only the bandwidth to think of them, to find them, or to find them on the internet, reprint them, go make copies, write their names, organize, make sure you got them all. And then you have to sit and administer each one. I mean, before track learning, it would take me 2 weeks-ish to really do a deep dive, when you have almost 40 students, to do that entire process and write my progress reports. Now with Tracked, I'm done within 2 days because, and think about that is, so if you have 2 weeks, that's 10 days of school and you eliminate two, that means those students are getting 8 more days of SDI that they weren't getting before. And if you do that 4 times a year, 8 times 4, that's 32 more days. That's almost a whole nother quarter of school that they got. And they didn't have to come to summer school. They didn't have to stay late for tutoring. That's just reallocating the time that's already in both of our schedules. So that's saving us and saving them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So let's kind of shift gears a little bit and talk about how with the program, can you facilitate collaboration between para-educators and special educators in collecting this data or progress monitoring our students?
Yeah. So currently with we have sub accounts that can be created for free for parents and para educators, but the para educators can't get their free account unless the special ed teacher has a subscription. But within that, and you can have as many para eds, signed in, they can all be taking data for the special ed teacher as well. So if they're teaching groups or if they're doing one-on-one or they're doing inclusion, they could be collecting data while the special ed teacher is collecting data. So now all of their data is in one place and they don't have to try to organize, or you guys don't have to collaborate, because if you want to know how Dawn's doing, you just go to Dawn's profile and you can see the para ed Sally, what she did today with Dawn and how Dawn did. So it eliminates some of that time or that connection time that you have to try to schedule within your day, which I'm surprised if any sped teacher really gets time with their paras too much. So it gives, and they don't get the ability to add or change goals or create assessments. They just get to see the student goals and they get to make a schedule, and then they get to collect data, but they can't alter it. So, if there's times where a special ed teacher never sees John, he's always with a para. Well, the para does all the data collection, but you're able to then do the progress report because you have everything written for you. And then we also have a parent component where they can only view the goals and the progress graphs, like the daily data tracking. So they can log in and they can just see, oh, hey, how's Don doing? Oh yeah, these were his goals. And he got 50% yesterday, but 62% today. And so it kind of gives that feedback from them being able to access and see how their child is doing.
Gotcha. So how often is it recommended that the data points be taken, whether it be from the special educator or anybody on the team?
So I think it all depends on how the IEP goal is written. But how I like to personally do it is I just leave my computer or my phone open. And some days I don't collect any data. I don't try to put that pressure on myself. I just try to make it part of my process. So while I'm maybe teaching at the board, like a whole group, a whole small group, and I'm doing a couple clicks like, oh yeah, Dawn had an identifying letter and she just told me this was A, I'm gonna go click an up arrow. Or, oh, Jimmy over there, he got that number wrong, I'm gonna go click a down arrow. And so some weeks it's like, oh, I collected letter identification every day for Dawn, but forgot to do numbers, but at least you can then think about that and put that in your plan for tomorrow because you have the bandwidth to actually think about it. Yeah. So it's just kind of however often I try to do IEP, like a full formal assessment once a month, just to have this is what they can do independently. And then the daily data while I'm teaching is kind of more like the informal, how they do based on how I was teaching that day.
Okay, cool.
Or did they get enough sleep or whatever?
Right. So the days do vary.
Yeah,
so
across those two data points.
Right. So you have quantitative, it's not really quantitative. You have formative and summative assessment kind of, because if you have it all along the way, So that way you're showing with supports and without supports. So that's really cool.
And the crazy thing is, this isn't doing something, because one thing teachers and I personally, you're in a staff meeting and you're like, another thing to add to my plate. That's not what this is. This, if anything, you're already doing this work. You're already keeping track on sticky notes or making a copy of a single digit addition and giving it to Jimmy and then grading it and organizing it.
Yeah.
So if anything, you're actually doing the same. I mean, it's a little less work, but you're getting so much more information and you're doing it in such a shorter amount of time.
Gotcha. Well, and it's so important. And I think that kind of leads me into like progress reports always sneak up on me and so many special educators because, it's quarterly, you just are getting your stride. And then all of a sudden, bam, we're having to send home these reports, these updates, these data notes. So tell us a little bit of how Track Learning helps generate those progress notes or assessments, and any other features that it has to help educators document the growth that they are making in order to make the best informed decisions each day.
Yeah, so under each student's profile is daily progress notes, and that's based off of the schedule page, whether you're clicking up for correct or down for incorrect. And that's generating percentages. So you can see a bar graph of how they're doing every time you take data. We then have the assessment tab, which is based on every assessment that student is taken. It shows their target skills or their goals and the percentages of how they did towards each of those goals. So now we have two different data points that we can look at. And then we have anecdotal notes. So you have three things that you can kind of cross-reference between all of each other. And there's also a couple step process to just generate the report. And you can choose to have all of that or none of that information on that report. And you can add your own notes. So everything can kind of be done for you as long as you're using the tracked system. If you only use it very little and you take data once a month, well, if you generate a report, you're not going to really see anything. If you're using it pretty religiously and you take data a couple times a week and you give monthly assessments, when you go to generate a report, we even have trend lines to show how each goal is going over time. We have the visual bar graphs showing patterns, and it's got all the notes you've taken on that student. So the more you use it, the better the report's going to be. And the report doesn't take longer or faster to create based on how much you use it. It's just the quality of the report is going to be better the more you use it. And it's just a couple buttons and you can have it directly emailed to their parents. You don't even have to worry about printing and putting in envelopes and putting in all the kids' backpacks. It's just like, boop, send it, email. Okay. And as fast as it goes for each kid, just generate, yes, I want that information, type in the parent's email, it's gone, next kid. So.
Okay. Yeah. Very cool. So with that, I think it kind of brings us to one of our last questions for today, but can you tell us how to check it out when teachers check it out after listening to this episode, like how to ensure the ease of getting it all set up so that it's seamless to navigate the platform and to create these assessments and generate these reports and maximize the benefits that you have and talked about today, because I feel like that's what we're looking for.
Yeah. So just up front, it's going to take, depending on your tech savvy skills, an hour, maybe 2 hours to get this set up. And I think that scares a lot of people because they already feel crunched on time, but I ensure you that 1 or 2 hours you take to just sit down, you already know your students' names, you already know their goals, or most of them.
Right.
If you just take the time to enter their names, and it's really easy, it's just AJ Howard, enter, and they're entered in the system. Jimmy Howard, enter, they're in the system. So you can just rattle off and type all your students' names, and then you go in there and you just add those students' goals. You're going to save that time back in the first week. It's already going to be that quick of a turnaround of time you're going to save. And once you're in there and you do that, there's a tutorial for each component and feature that's just quick. It's, it's a basic version. And if you need more help within the space that you're logged in, at the end of the tutorial, it shows you where to go to the how-to videos, which is 2 clicks away. You click on your name, you click how do I, and it's going to pull up all these links, and it's going to say how to add students. That's what I don't know how to do. It's going to show a couple-minute video tops.
Okay.
How do I make an assessment? It's literally going to say how to make an assessment. Click it. Oh yeah. And you can click and make the assessment. So, and those you can access a month from now when you make another assessment you don't remember. You can click your name, click how do I, watch the video again. So there's a lot of components, or you can reach out to us and we're more than happy to do a sit down Zoom with you or talk over the phone and walk you through it.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, I think that you've shared a lot of very helpful just information of the back end, how to use it. And so I hope that listeners will check it out, and we will at the end of the show just let them know again how to find you and all the information. But as we kind of finish up this episode, what is always like 1000% your favorite school supply that always brings a smile to your face?
Ticonderoga pencils.
Yep, that one.
Those are my favorite. If I walk into someone's classroom and they don't have those, I'm like,
you're judging
when
hard.
I see those, I am instantly happy. Ticonderoga pencils.
There you go. They are really good. I like the fat ones. I like the skinny ones.
Yeah.
Any of them. Awesome. Well, AJ, tell us again how to find your website, where teachers can get started, and any other information to help them improve their data collection without the overwhelm.
Yeah, so our website is Tracked Learning, just TRACKED learning.com. On there, we have a bunch of information that will help steer you to making your free 1-month trial, and you get full access to the entire thing.
Awesome.
And that's where you would log in every day. And you can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. We're not super present on there yet. We're still learning those routes and avenues, but tracklearning.com is the number one place to find what's going on and to start your free account.
Awesome. So when they can try it out for free for 30 days, and inside there, they can get full access to everything that we've talked about today to see if it works for them, and then kind of go from there. We'll link all of that in the show notes, as well as your Instagram and Facebook, but mostly to connect on the website. Is there anything else you wanted to mention before we sign off for today?
Yeah, the one thing, because I'm sure a lot of people are, a lot of us, every one of us wants something for free as well. And I get it. And we're trying to make this as cheap as possible to give access to as many teachers. It's $10 a month or $99 a year. And because of how time saving this has been and how the stress reliever on so many teachers, we've had building principals or special ed directors actually paying for the subscriptions for all their special ed teachers in their school, because it allows them to all be cohesive together. It brings in the paras for helping with the workload, and it just saves so much time and gives that time back to the kids, which that's what we all want, is to help our kids grow. And that's what this does. So bring it up to your admin, show them, do the 30 days, show them what it does for you, get your other SPED teachers on board. And a lot of them are just, wanting to give back. It's not a big price for school districts to have to pay for. So they're wanting to help their teachers because they want them to stay.
True. And I think this is a great solution to help with that frustration. So thank you so much for taking time to chat with us today and just kind of give us some more information about Tracked Learning so that we're aware and that we can check it out to help simplify this portion of our job that we all are responsible for, whether you're a self-contained teacher, an inclusion teacher, a resource teacher. It sounds like you can really adapt it to the need that you have this year. So thank you, AJ, for taking time to chat with us today.
Bye.